Voice Mode on the MOX is really where you get your start. It's where Yamaha spent all the money with the program is to give you the best library of sounds available. You can customize these sounds. We give you over 1,000 preset sounds, 64 drum kits, but you can customize them to make them your own. There are no bad sounds. They're only inappropriate sounds for what you're doing right now. Sounds that you pass over sometimes, you'll come back to later. And once you learn how to customize them to your playing style, you can make them do almost anything. We'll start in voice mode. One of the first skills that you want to master on your MOX and make it your own is category search. There are 1,024 voices in voice mode. There are 384 user locations in voice mode. So Yamaha gives you 1,024 presets. You can customize the presets, store your version in the user bank. So to be clear, presets are what you get from the factory. You can't destroy them, you can't lose them, you can edit them, but you store your custom edit in the user bank. This is the first step in making the MOX your own, customizing the sounds. So category search. Just to the right of the screen, you'll find the category search button. Category search is a way in which you can find the sounds very quickly. When you press the category search button, you will see main categories and subcategories. You have acoustic piano, keyboard, organ, guitar, bass, strings, brass, sax and woodwind, synth lead, synth pad and choir, synth comping sounds, chromatic percussion, drums and percussion, sound effects, musical effects, ethnic sounds, and vocoder. There is also an 18th category that's called favorite, and there's a dedicated favorite button. We'll show you how to store your sounds, your favorite sounds, to that category. So, if you're looking for a particular sound, say you're looking for a string sound, you can dial up the string category and then cursor down to the subcategory. Strings are subdivided into solo strings, ensemble string, pizzicato strings, synth strings, Now, once you pick a category, you can then hit enter and see a list of strings in that category. So you can go down the list and find the different sounds that you want to use. If you're looking for a bass sound, for instance, call up the bass category. They're subdivided into acoustic bass, electric bass, synth bass, arpeggiated basses, This makes it extremely easy to find the sounds that you like. Now, if you want to set a sound as your favorite, you'll notice that there's a little heart icon in the screen. If you call up a sound and want to make it your favorite, you can hold the shift button and touch favorite. And you see that the heart now appears on the main screen. This now is one of your favorite sounds. So when you go to category search and select favorite, your sound will appear. It is just that easy to create your favorites. If you want to undo the favorite, you can set clear, you can highlight the sound and clear. It'll ask you to say Are you sure? You press enter, and now it is cleared. So, choosing your own favorites is very important. It allows you to customize the unit. With 1,024 sounds, it's terrible to find a sound that you like, come back the next day and realize, oh, what was that sound? So mark your favorites. Shift plus favorite will put the heart on the screen and mark it as one of your favorites, making the MOX your own. Okay, I mentioned there were 1,024 preset sounds. Those are normal sounds. Now, there are two categories of voices. There are normal voices and there are drum voices. There are 64 drum kits on board. And just as there are normal musicians and there are drummers, drum kits are a very special case of voice. So, you can find that by going to your category search from Voice Mode and dialing up drum and percussion. Now, they're subdivided into drums, percussion. If you're looking for a drum kit, you can hit enter, and you have a list of drum kits. Now, if you're new to working with a synthesizer, each key on the keyboard has a different drum. There are actually 6 octaves of drum sounds on board, 73 instruments in the drum kit. Now, this is different than a normal voice. A normal voice I've been playing up to now, piano or something like that, it's one instrument. Or maybe 2 instruments. You might have piano and strings. But each key in a drum kit is a different instrument. When you think about a marching band, there are guys in the marching band that all they play is the bass drum. In fact, there's several of them. Usually it says Yamaha on that bass drum as well. There are people who only play snare drums. Again, snare drum is a separate instrument. In fact, each note in a drum kit is a separate instrument, and that's how you can think of it. It has its own volume, its own pan position, its own routing to the effects. It's an independent entity. So a drum kit voice actually includes 73 different instrument sounds. Now, if you've never played drums from keys before, this can be disconcerting, but we'll show you. There's no one way to work. You don't have to spend lots of time learning a new technique. We'll show you lots of tips and tricks on how to get involved in programming your own drums or using the tons of content that Yamaha provides. So, power standard kit number 1. Now, if you have a 61-note keyboard, each key has a number, all right, or a name. Middle C for Yamaha is C3. It's the 3rd C up your keyboard, all right? And it has a particular sound. C1 happens to be a bass drum sound. Now, if we drop into edit on a drum kit, I'm going to hit edit, all right? There are 2 levels of editing, all right? Just so you know. Now, looking in the screen, you can see that we're in voice mode, and it says common right after that. There are 2 levels of editing. There's the common level or overall, things that each of the 73 drums in this kit will share. They all share the name Power Standard Kit number 1. All right? They all share output level 79, okay? These are things that they all will share. There's an overall EQ for the entire drum kit. There are controllers. There are 6 different controller setups that I can have to control the drums with physical controllers like mod wheels or pedals. There's effect processing. Again, you can route the drum kit, and you can do this on an individual basis. This is why drum kits are very complex. I can take any single drum and route it to a particular insert effect, one or the other, or I can have it go to neither of the effects. This is very powerful because you don't necessarily want to have reverb on your bass drum. Now, this is something, and I need to explain this term, state-of-the-art. State-of-the-art is something that's very important for you to understand as a user of a synthesizer. State-of-the-art means this is what is being done today. There is no right or wrong. It's just in fashion. And if you're a student of music and the history of recorded music, you will realize that mixes in the 60s sound different from mixes in the 70s. And mixes in the 70s sounded different in the 80s. And the 80s sound different from the 90s, and so forth. And this is because state of the art. It's what was done at the time. So it's state of the art not to put reverberation on your bass drum, but to have reverb on the snare. Now, why did this become in fashion? There's a technical reason for it. If you think about sound and reflection, we talked about sound reflecting in an environment. High frequencies, those frequencies that are above 1,000 hertz, will hit a surface and bounce back into that environment. Where low frequencies tend to hit a surface and spread out and actually move the surface. You know this is true if you're next door to the party and there's a record playing. You don't hear necessarily the vocals, you don't hear necessarily the snare drum, you don't hear the hi-hats, nothing that's high frequency. What you do hear is the low frequencies hitting the wall and moving it. It's just low frequency that are coming through the wall. If you drive up to the traffic light and the guy in the next car has his radio pumped up, what do you hear? You hear the bass. The highs get trapped in the environment because they hit the surface and bounce back. Low frequencies hit a surface, spread out. So when you have a low frequency bouncing around in an environment, it muddies your mix. Mud is self-explanatory. Mud is not a good thing in your mix. It clouds the mix, it hides other things. So you want to leave the kick drum dry, but have reverb on the snare. And this is